Just when I was in the market for some good old Oblivion action, Bethesda did the unthinkable. They released something people actually wanted. For once, Todd Howard didn't lie, he just refrained from saying anything. Yo dudettes, this is Ketchu. And today, we're going to find out, can you beat Oblivion Remastered without taking or doing any damage? The answer is complicated, but the pain is simple. I already tried this in Skyrim, it was awful, so naturally, I wanted to do it again. Oblivion is older, jankier, and somehow both easier and harder, like trying to eat soup with a fork. I chose Breton because nothing screams "please don't hurt me" like being short, magical, and clinically allergic to confrontation. Then the game decided to pry if I had type 1 or type 2 diabetes. I have neither, but thanks for the concern, Bethesda. I don't like my fantasy games coming at me with real-life issues. After some character creation magic, my beautiful hero was ready to tackle the world of Tamriel, metaphorically speaking. The guy across the aisle hurled some profanities and slurs my way, but I was too busy going feral in my cell exploring my body. Not like that. I was also trying to find the console key, so I could slash my own HP down. Patrick Stewart dropped by my suite to tell me he had a sweet dream about me. That's concerning. He was in the market for a shortcut outside to get some fresh air. Conveniently, the secret escape tunnel was in my room. The only working command to lower my HP was the same as in the previous version. Only my current health could be crippled. The gang decided I wasn't cool enough to hang and left me to deal with the invading Skavens, who were proposing a very aggressive cultural exchange. I had no spells I could use and didn't plan this far. Out of options, I dodged the rats and made my way to the next room, but one rodent gnawed at my heel before I brained my way out. I took damage, expected death, but my HP was full. Apparently, Oblivion Remastered has passive health regeneration. Great, the game heals me against my will. My attempts to handicap myself with commands locked away my achievements too. Todd, in the end you managed to find a way to disappoint me. From here on out, we are 1 HP emotionally only. Guess I need to pay attention now. With the power of anxiety and high blood pressure, I managed to get through the dungeon. I only failed a lot of times. Nothing a little jumping and panic couldn't fix. The best part? I dropped some items thanks to being overburdened, and they hit me on the way down. Why are physics always against me? The tutorial has never been this difficult. One of my biggest mistakes was putting on one of those red ribbon cultist hoods. Back with the crew, the Emperor asked me for my star sign. I picked the Apprentice. We didn't match. Our journey through the boulevard of bad choices continued. Patrick Stewart handed me the Amulet of Short Kings. I got mesmerized by the new animation, and ran for help before it was my turn to die. Zorus wanted to take his mind off of his failure, and tried guessing my class. Agent? Pretty good, but it had marksman, so hard pass. I made up my own class instead. Glass Fork. Same as my name, because that's what my parents divined me. And I've been fragile and mostly useless ever since. I picked the skills I thought might help, put magic as the focus, and otherwise didn't think it through at all. My reward? Baby's first summon, a skeleton. He instantly annihilated 2 goblins and a rat, stuff that would have had me screaming and sprinting otherwise. This boy's been drinking his milk! Now I know what you're thinking. How is this without doing any damage if you're using summons? Hear me out. I only summoned the thing. I'm not the one doing the damage. Your judgeness, it's not my fault if it decides to attack my enemies. How could I have possibly known that? One rat refused to fight my calcium companion. I don't blame it. Okay then. I reached the beginning of the end of the line, entered the light, and was finally born into the world where the real game begins. As I took a moment to appreciate the scenic, irradiated hellscape of the Commonwealth, a mudcrab got tired of my sentimentality and smacked me so hard I bounced off the reload screen, the apex predators of my nightmares. After that life lesson, I made a pit stop to buy some spells, but got emotionally entangled with the emotional fidget spinner instead. God, I missed this stupid thing. At Waynan Priory, I stole every snack foolish enough to exist within my line of sight. While trying to figure out how to ninja Jeffrey's sacred bookshelf food, a monk ambushed me with unsolicited conversation. I weaponized small talk until he submitted. Then came Joffre, whose face asked more questions than his mouth. Like, why is the Amulet of Kings being handled by something that looked like it crawled out of a rejected Tim Burton storyboard? He decided I'd been his problem long enough and outsourced me to Martin in Kvatch, like I was an overdue invoice. To grease the goodbye, he offered some supplies, so I respectfully vacuumed the chest clean, then inhaled all the freshly reaped table crops like a cursed blender, just to make inventory space, and traded the loot for a summon zombie spell I couldn't afford earlier. At Kvatch Waypoint, a man who had clearly seen some things screamed at me about the name of the game. I robbed the survivors of their food stash, which was disappointingly modest. You know how they say crime spikes during disasters? I think I'm 80% of the spike. The closer I got to the ruins, the worse the RGB settings got. This carriage is going off the beaten path so fast if I get trapped in another time wound. That one soldier who still believed in protocol tried to send me away like a common tourist, but after I told him some of my finest jokes, he gave me a first-class ticket through the neighborhood screaming red hole in reality. Before going in, I kindly slashed my own HP again and cranked the difficulty, hoping to murder my health regen. Didn't work. As soon as I entered Heko, the neighborhood welcoming committee immediately sprinted over, radiating that friendly Daedric bloodlust. One survivor intruded on my personal space. He was halfway to hysterical, but agreed to follow me, probably because I was the least on fire thing in the vicinity. Best not to mention my mixtape. I spent a little too long comparing the spiked heads to my zombie. Pretty sure I found his cousin, Venus, my recently traumatized sidekick, vanished as soon as I turned my back. Guess sightseeing outranks survival instincts. The color palette here is so one-dimensional it's making my eyes tired. The brickwork is a shit show, and the air smells like burnt soup. The faster I'm out of here, the better. Dealing with the scams wasn't anything too difficult. Zombies make fantastic meat shields. But when it came to the Darth Maul cosplayers, they really put my rotting butter back through its overpriced paces. The mage variant was especially rude. The lone survivor used the Ulrich tactic, which is the worst tactic hands down. It's the one where you keep your hands down. Fun fact, unlike Skyrim, Oblivion lets you launch corpses out of thin air like some kind of a necromantic t-shirt cannon. A scamp wise beyond its years figured me out, but I dodged route with Olympic grace, then took fall damage anyway, because physics and personal vendetta. This place really makes me want to play Minecraft. In the second tower, when the sigil keeper waddled up, I tried offering him to my chum biscuit, but he didn't get hostile until after his monologue, at which point I had the spatial freedom of a sardine in a vending machine. Rinse and reload. I tried offering him bread as a peace gesture, but he wouldn't bite. He clearly didn't understand the cultural gravity of me sharing my food. The disrespecter was so shocked by my maneuvers, he forgot to dodge the concept of death. Oi, 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 oi. After narrowly avoiding becoming shish Ketchu, my zombie got fired up and slapped the scamp into another plane of existence. Then I forgot to dodge the concept of death. Dang it! From there, I switched gears. Run and ignore became my new strategy. My decomposing meat balloon friend, bless his rotten heart, stayed behind to buy me 5 seconds of screaming. Armed with full, always the scared side character energy, I grabbed the sigil stone from the pin setter. Then I did it 3 more times before I made it out without eating fire or some other off-screen nonsense that kept feeding me backstabs. The trick was to dodge like my life depended on it, because it did. Before telling Matthias that Kvatch had been moderately unburned on my watch, I had more pressing matters, a bedroll. As my first level up, I invested in growing my brain, 4 points into intelligence, wisdom and speech each. While visiting my favorite mystical pawn shop, I traded my steaming pile of loot goblin junk for heroism, which I planned to use to lift the spirits of my companions, the same way my jokes usually don't. After talking to the wrong guy like a true professional, I let the captain know I was ready to watch as my summon punched the darkness in the face. I worked hard at doing nothing but providing reusable corpses and emotional support for the team. Everyone in the chapel was so happy to see me, I couldn't work on my jokes. Except one woman who looked at me like she could see my browser history. She might be a Daedric agent as far as I'm concerned. Martin, the replacement heir to the throne, was not loving the situation. Like a proper priest, he tried praying to Akatos for help. That was his first mistake. Instead, he should have prayed to Talos, the one true god. The only god who believes in push-ups and payback. Still, he agreed to follow me back to Venom Priory. He seemed a little stressed, so I lightened the mood with my magic. Me, Matthias, and the boys stormed the Kvatch Plaza. The gate was locked, because of course it was, so I had to go fetch the key, while the captain activated his PTO and stood in place to collect overtime. On the way, some Imperial soldiers joined us, eager to throw themselves into the meat grinder for my cause. I respect that kind of enthusiasm. I met the man holding both the key and the plot relevance. He led us through the crypts and into the wreckage. Things were going a little too well, so I immediately inhaled a fireball like it was a cinnamon challenge. Round 2, I got even sloppier. Tried to buff my illusion by motivating my troops and got my pancreas rearranged by scammed claws. 3rd time's the charm. I adapted the ancient working man strategy of saving every 7 seconds, because I know I put a face to failure. Once I got through the gatehouse, it was time to float the castle hall with bodies. Captain Madius, exhausted from the 3 minutes of work, didn't budge. From here on out, it was a bit of a struggle bus. I lost my last disposable meat shield, a leftover snack was strictly decorative, and my baits, Martin and Zombro, were struggling to do literally the one thing I keep them around for. Also, the hallways were designed by whoever built IKEA parking lots. Tight and miserable, not much room to wiggle. The cadaverific Count Doofus had counted his last. I looted everything he had in his pants, including his pants. Leveling up in his bed wasn't an option. The rotting corpse thinking next to me still had a claim to it. Back outside, I showed Matthias my new outfit. He still had the audacity to ask what happened to the Count, so I handed him the good news and the dead man's ring. He retired on the spot and handed me his armor. Smart man. Martin never knew he had it in him to take back Kvatch from the oblivious forces of heck. All he needed was a little encouragement. Before returning Martin to the lost and found, I took him shopping with me, traded my crabs for cabs, swung by the discount spell Emporium, and bought Salmon's Camp to bulk up my friend group with legally distinct gremlins. At 3 brothers trade goods, some weirdo assumed I wanted a job from him. I didn't. I was busy. Me and Martin were on a bonding arc. Back at Jeffrey Land, a doomsday creature sprinted up to me, looking weirdly happy, informing me of the Red Ribbon Army marauding all over the place. Despite me running in circles like a comedy routine, the bad lass refused to ignore me, even with all the backslaps my allies were handing to them. Jeffrey was safely surrounded by enemies. I love work. I could watch it all day. Once the murder calmed down, we checked on the Amulet of Short Kings. Surprise, it was gone. So much for that secret room. Next plan? Stash Martin in the Blades HQ, and I get the dead guy's horse. I was excited to see the idiots finally leave me alone for a moment. There was something I wanted to do, but no. Muppets followed me inside the chapel.
No, okay, fine.
Rolling backwards on the new horse made my guy look even shiftier than before.
Look at this gang, like an album cover.
At the Blade HQ, I watched in horror as my horse got squished. Martin got his quick coronation ceremony on a microwave tray. He gave a speech that said, "Please don't perceive me," and I gave him magical cheerleading. Next, His Majesty revealed the plot. We need the Amulet of Kings back. Thanks, Your Grace. Huge help. Jeffrey offered me a spot as a blade. I said no at first, couldn't be bothered, but had to do a 360 on my stance, just so I could use a bed to level up. He also gifted me something I can sell instead of just money. Back in the Imperial City, I reunited with Sorus at an inn. He discreetly announced his plan to deal with an assassin that was trying to do a murder on him, then headed down to the cellar. The would-be assassin followed him, and I tailed the guy. Downstairs, I cast Heroism on the butt pirate and played spectator while the guy got converted into meat confetti. The human liquidator had a strange book. Sorus explained it was a volume 1 of a light treason series. If I wanted to find the Red Ribbon Army, I'd need all 4. Once the untrusting eyes were gone, in both senses, I looked for food in the cellar, but found none. Outraged, I trashed the place like a toddler with tax problems. Before continuing with the plot, I tied up a loose end. Finally stole the snacks from the chapel that had been living rent-free in my brain. At the Arcane University, Carmina gave me another cult book. She pointed me toward a bookstore and wisely asked 0 questions.
I won't poke my nose any further.
I like her. Naturally, I used this opportunity to ruin the vibe with jokes. To get the next book, I had to cut in line for a pre-order. My charisma wasn't enough, so I hit him with bribes. Big ones. Eventually, he gave me the cult pamphlet. Of course, right then, a collector showed up, rightfully angry. He was a cult enthusiast. I get it. Looking into the astonishing levels of portardation cults are capable of is interesting. But this man had no idea the level of crazy he was brushing up against this time. He gave me a napkin with treasure map energy, scribbled with the final book's location, with a promise of a super cult meetup where a cultist of a higher standing would pass over the last book. Me and Sorus went to investigate and possibly cosplay as aspirants. Of course, I got sloppy. A super goblin peeled off part of my skin like it was a coupon sticker, and because I forgot to save, I got kicked back to the beginning. Trying to speedrun back got me hit even faster. Back to square one squared. I adapted my 7-second save rhythm again and tiptoed forward like a paranoid crab. Xarxes wanted to try his hand at diplomacy. The backstage cult groupies found me lurking. The second time around I just crashed the party immediately. Then I played it safe, like usual. Xarxes forgot the basics of combat, like positioning, and paid for it with his life. While my minion distracted the silver creatures, I swiped everything valuable in the red ribbon room. When my wrinkled rotting dustbin of a friend rounded the corner victoriously, he jump-scared another summon out of me. After picking up the last book, I mourned Xarxes and picked up his blade to bring it back to the baldy should they want it. On the way out, a silver mutant reminded me I'm not special, but it was totally worth it since I would have missed this otherwise. At the end of the tunnel, I lost 9 lockpicks trying to stupid my way through a locked manhole. Back at AU, I asked our lady to fire up her lizard brain and figure out the next step. She told me to wait 24 hours. I told her no. Then I stood around bothering her every hour until she finally cracked. Unfortunately, she cracked into another 24-hour delay. She also managed to give me clues to do it myself, but no. If I can outsource a side quest, I will. After that, I went Jin Pokemon hunting. The university wouldn't let me enter their shop, because apparently being part of a secret anti-demon war isn't enough of a student ID. The market district had nothing new either, so I followed a faint nostalgia itch to Coral. No conjuration spells there either. Instead, they handed me a useless recommendation fetch quest that burned both time and nerves. Right as I considered dropping out of Wizard College forever, seeing this dude sharpened my blurred memory. This was my guy. I bought Skeleton Guardian, the crunchy new companion on the block. Gotta grab him all and watch him fight so I don't have to. Next quest marker took me to the Imperial Gardens, where High Noon turned the wall into some Da Vinci Code nonsense. That revealed the base of the Red Ribbon Army. At the hideout, I convinced the bouncer that I was an aspirant into their League of Stupid. I have enough red flags to blend in. Once the door opened, I had a choice. Infiltrate slowly, study their weakness. Nope, I decided to start nuking the whole anthill immediately. Only problem? They wouldn't aggro. I considered going back to work on my illusion to get frenzy. Then Harrow walked up and asked me to hand over all my belongings. Nothing I had was valuable, but that wasn't the point. It was the principle, and that's how I started the war. Skeleton Boy thanked the Red Ribbon Army's finest effortlessly. Crap baskets. Their head honcho, Mankar Camoran, was spouting some cult nonsense. But I wasn't listening, too busy taking apart the audience. Then he stepping disked himself into another dimension. After turning the rest of the listeners into fertilizer, I collapsed an ugly statue on their sleeping sacrifice, but decided it wasn't canon and let the sleeping handsome free instead, because I will do anything to ruin this stupid cult's plans. I grabbed the ultimate brochure because it was there, and the green arrow in my compass hinted I should. On the way out, I went out of my way to dismantle as much of the cult as I could. Claustrophobia and I became real intimate in those caverns. The red turd herders made jump-scaring me their pastime. No! Yo! Oh my crap, where did you come from? Despite me expending the effort to set him free, my scaly body didn't make it out alive, but at least he passed on his own stupid terms. That was his ninja way. Thankfully, Skeleton 2.0 was cracked. I was very happy with my investment. Dude could solo 3 cultists at once like a bony Beyblade. If I was still using my bargain bin summons, this dungeon would have been a suicide note in the bathroom stall wall. Whenever I visit the Three Stooges store, they are so excited to see me, which is weird since all I do is sell them trash. Back at Cloud Ruler Temple, I redistributed every edible item in the Great Hall into my backpack. The blades can eat honor for dinner. I handed the Emperor his brochure. He knew from the stench of failure that I hadn't recovered his anime locket yet. He confiscated the evil book off my hands before I corrupted it or used it as a coaster. My reward was a conversation with Jeffrey. He gave me a side quest to hunt down a spy cell in Bruma, because I'm the intern. While horsing around in the town, I lost track of time and place trying to echolocate Captain Bird.
For Lord Dagon!
What? The moment I accidentally left the town, I got ambushed by a woman yelling about an ancient Mesopotamian war god. She also went out of her way to summon that hot topic clearance bin dress. That's how I knew she was a spy. The universe backed me up. The key on the carbs prompted another intrusive thought. Ask the captain about the key. Naturally, there was no such option. Instead, he told me to go harass the only person in Bruma who has regular outdoor activity. The good captain didn't ask questions and had no idea I was about to commit some good old breaking and entering. After swiping all the food and whatever he tried to lock away, I made sure to make it look like the place was struck by, the place was hit by, a smooth-brained criminal. Dun, 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 dun. In the basement, I found an enemy document, the leftover spy, and her pet crab. Jeffrey was happy to learn that I got the job done and gave me the prestigious honor of a good job and absolutely nothing of value. Before heading out, I stood in the communal bedroom practicing my conjuration by spamming skeletons until the system gave up and made me an expert. Then I went to Cholesterol to spend my new status on buying 2 more pocket monsters. The Emperor needed me to fetch a demonic artifact. No big deal. I looked at the map and went for the closest one. My horse is 80% about the goat. A minor skirmish greeted me at Azura's shrine. I speeched the Smurf into explaining how to summon their sparkly space mummy. Step 1, get glowstone. Step 2, bundle the giant lady statue exactly at twilight o'clock. There's never a dull moment around that shrine. Stupid the horse died defending me from a scuffle I didn't need to be in. Turns out I could have just waited and the glowstone would have happened on its own. Never a dull moment. I gave Azura her crunchy cosmic fun dip and she screamed into my skull like a Bluetooth banshee. Apparently, her followers went full Nosferatu in a nearby Minecraft and were now just fanging around, taking up space. Unacceptable. I had to go unsuck them in exchange for her blessing.
Alright, vampires, whatever. Gosh darn it, I wish I had a horse. Come on, you freaking layabout. An Oblivion gate right next to it. Wow, that's fun. I'm just gonna ignore that one.
Thinking this will be easy with my new summons, I marched in feeling tough, then immediately faced the reload screen with a hole in my chest and ego.
Wait, what the frick?
Second round ended with me getting a sharp lesson in humility again. Third time's the thing as always. She slapped the hero suffix out of my skeleton. But once I baited her outside, I had all the room for cucumber cat maneuvering, slowly winning the war of attrition. Eat that, you massive sucker! Get it? Because he's a vampire. It's funny. The sad realization was that the Oblivion torches don't have off switches. Boo. I used the same strategy for the rest of the vampire flink. Run in circles, blink bodies at them, scream, repeat. It didn't make it any easier that they came in pairs. One orc lady in particular ate my entire undead army like a breakfast cereal, refusing to fold like a fitted sheath. I'm convinced she could solo the continent if she got bored enough, but you know what they say. Stake it till you make it. Yes! With the hardest dungeon in the history of Ketchu-verse Oblivion Reloaded challenge runs behind me, I returned to the shrine and got my sparkling gift from Azura, which I will absolutely pawn off for easy quest credit at the first opportunity.
I haven't time for fools.
How did he know? I didn't even open my mouth yet.
At the Imperial Marketplace, I was minding my own business, just practicing my conjuration like a responsible necromantic citizen, until I got interrupted. You can probably guess by who. Now that I was basically a conjuration god, I needed some new pocket demons. The merchant, though, he only had a big flat no to offer me. The L is silent in flat. I figured I needed to join Arcane University to get the cool spells. That means collecting recommendation letters like business cards from each town. What a chore. Starting with Anvil.
You smell of death. Been conjuring up dead things?
Don't kink shame me!
With 2 government-certified Imperial battle mages as backup, I pretended not to see the blue cryptid hiding in the bushes and baited her out. No matter who did what to her, that psycho would absolutely not stop targeting me.
Oh no!
A punch in my patience later, she finally stopped. I respect her hustle. I also hate her.
Okay, finally, jeez!
For Bruma, I just had to find Idiot the Invisibless. In Jaden Hall, all I needed to do was some heavy lifting and fighting the head mage's lost kidney stones. My resume is gonna be wild. Bravil involved romance, lots of smooth talking, bribery, and one of those red ribbon assassins who think subtlety is for losers. I don't think that part was planned.
Can you guys get any more in the way?
The guild captain also kept calling me her only hope, like she's the Leia of Oblivion Reloaded. Leiavin was where optimism went to die. I had to recover an amulet from a ruin infested with murder bandits built like WWE wrestlers. My carelessness proved that I just refused to learn. The bot bandits cleaved through my skeleton army like they were made of paper mache, but my low transparency friend stepped up to be the game changer here. He even did the Dark Souls taunt after winning.
Alright.
A couple of more reloads later,
Frick!
The rabbit mage was chasing me around the crypt armed with a knife. Of course, he locked us both in. Pickpocketing stuff from the guy who tried to do a murder on me got me kicked out of the guild. My survival plan? Run around the lone pillar like it was a maypole of pain. The trick was not to hesitate and just keep running. As a great man once said, always look on the bright side of life. I made a buttload of money from all the loot. Skingrad. Ew, Skingrad. What even is Skingrad? I'll tell you what it is. It's a disgusting sound my mouth makes when I say it out loud, like sneezing while eating oatmeal. After stealing all the grapes from a farm for personal reasons, I spelunked into a cave where the zombies had no heads but all the aggro. Seriously, how did they keep finding me? Do they echolocate me with their neck stumps? Anyway, all I needed to do was fetch one idiot and escort him back to the guild.
Goodbye.
From there, I finally got into the AU, tried on the rope they gave me, but liked my old threads more, drew it back in their smug, academic faces. After that, I blew my allowance on 3 new pocket demons. This depressing thing, and this angry flappy lad. And whatever this is, looks like it owes child support in 5 dimensions. Back at Blade HQ, I finally dropped off Sauron's cosplay katana. Dead weight, useless, bad for my brand and my back. For my next task in the long list of labors, His Majesty tasked me to find divine hemoglobin. Neat. He also told me divines don't ever reveal themselves like the Daedra, yet they choose to worship them. Asked Jeffrey about it. He updated my GPS with the address to an ancient blade crypt. Apparently, it's where they left Tiber Septim's dirty laundry. Still has his blood on it. Gross. On the way there, I did what any sane hero would do. Started sniping deer from a cliff with no provocation. Bad idea.
I guess that heroism on them, they actually attacked me. Good job. Oh, he's taunting them as well.
Great day. Perfect. Serene. Should've shut up.
Vadamaka!
Of course, the place is more haunted than an abandoned Taco Bell toilet. But this time I used stealth, actual sneaky boy behavior. And it kind of worked. Lots of corridors, lots of backtracking.
Frick!
But I did manage to get rid of all my lockpicks.
Stretching.
At the heart of the crypt, I had to release the 3 ghosts of Christmas sass, gather them around for a prayer. Some 4th guy showed up as well, don't know who that is, and with their help, together, we turned off the ancient fog machine. With that shut down, the path opened to the bloodstained armor. Snagged it, bolted out of there like I left the stove on. Back at Cloud Ruler Temple, I strutted to the Emperor Junior, wearing the god armor to blend a cocktail of ancestor blood and my armpits wet to make it truly divine. Next, his Martinity mentioned that Jeffrey needs help with some trouble related to Bruma. Cool story. I ignored that and handed him the Daedric Ninja Star instead. He took it without question and handed me my next divine grocery list. Fetch a great Velkin stone from some awful, overgrown Vermeer ruins. I'm not saying I cried, but the tears were invisible. Distraction time. I gallivanted off to Bravil to level illusion by casting mind tricks on the wizarding Leia knockoff. No, I won't help her, but she has no choice but to love me, because I'll keep spamming charm until Stockholm Syndrome kicks in.
See you.
Yeah, I'll see you ladies. While practicing magic, I've learned that the more a spell casts, the more experience it rewards. Spamming invisibility spell raised my illusion to mastery in no time at all. There are so many things I want to do with magic, but I already blew my allowance on all the new store-bought spells. Next target would be customized fun. Next up, Miss Carcant, in search of the last surviving great Velkin stone. Because of course it's the last one. And of course it's just conveniently within walking distance. How very video game of you, Oblivion. Thankfully, I now had the power of vanishing at will. So this whole dungeon crawl was less survival horror and more invisible man loots your culture. As usual, my biggest enemy was gravity and my own idiot legs. The puzzles were refreshingly dumb. Press a button, boom, door open. I'm not complaining. I've got the attention span of a skooma squirrel. The undead and the goblins inside were not on speaking terms. I don't think they coordinated the cohabitation. The lack of privacy and the angry corpses were probably not listed in the contract. Deep in the dungeon's heart, I discovered the sacred Velkin lava lamp. It was also owned by the dungeon's stinky, territorial lich landlord, who did not appreciate my squatter's rights. I could have easily invisibled past him, but I wanted whatever he had in his pockets. My minion taunted the dusty nerd, as he should, and his stick was worth a hefty coin. Back at Blade HQ, I presented the Emperor with his new magical nightlight, and he gently let me know that Bruma is still on fire and I must help no matter what. While doing some last-minute shopping, I watched the Ho perform a seductive dance. After that spiritual awakening, I hit a triple level up, dumping every point into speed, agility and personality. I'm very curious about what it feels like to have a personality. Inventory cleanup time. I dumped every precious item I owned into the fireplace, as nature intended. Next at the university, I brewed up the strongest frenzy spell I could, and bought my favorite summon, the 8-legged beauty Sporder Daedra. Exciting.
What did they do to my queen? Look how they massacred my girl!
Before bolting, I made a 90-second version of the summon, because 20-second versions spend half of their time just standing around like confused interns. Back in Bruma, I was asked to train the local captain in Oblivion portal etiquette. We gave the troops an inspiring speech, and while watching the Bruma boys get obliterated, I realized I didn't have the mana to cast my Sporder Queen. Also, my max frenzy spell did absolutely nothing, beyond disappointing. There are no toilets in the world of Tamriel. I bet they use the plains of Oblivion as a lavatory by sending their waste through magic portals or something. The Daedra probably snapped after centuries of receiving steaming dumps. Their answer? Damnation without relief. Only the captain survived the first encounter. Things were going splendidly. The new thorns in my side, the balloon defense towers did not care one bit about my invisibility. The spank vines almost gave me an unsolicited colonoscopy.
Ooh, that was close.
What does not belong here in this field of lava? I wonder if I could eat that cake without taking damage with enough fire resistance potions. I ignored the rest of the infernal idiots on the way to the top to save up time, but the real boss fight was walking directly into every trap possible. The frick was that? Captain Bird decided to show off his fashion sense and fight without his armor. At the top, I couldn't pick up the bowling ball without showing the captain how it's done.
That's not how you use a bow, idiot.
I spent a small eternity throwing 20-second spiders at my enemies, waited an hour, then finally grabbed the McMuffin while Bird leaned over my shoulder, and we puddled out.
Yatta.
Back at the Arcane University, I tested Frenzy on the locals. Test results? Hilarious. I think I found my new money printer.
Wow, he got really freaked.
Then I finalized my 60-second Spider Queen summon. Jeffrey asked me to travel to every city and the Elder Council to beg for reinforcements for Bruma. A job literally anyone could do. For me alone, it would take at least a week. No thanks, Bruma can burn. I stashed more junk in my safe zone. Then accidentally opened a cursed book I'd stolen from somewhere. Todd Howard saw what I did. Nobody was happy about it. His Royal Martinity said we just needed one more thing, a great sigil stone. So I chucked all his books into my hoard as protest. As a master illusionist, it was trivially easy to convince the Countess of Bruma to open a massive heck portal next door. She had some last-minute concerns about doing it without reinforcements, but I was confident I didn't care for the lives of her soldiers. For the gate plan, all we had to do was let the Red Ribbon Army do exactly what they came to do. Simple. His Majesty gave a moving speech, while I played the cheerleader like usual. Then, as my frame rate melted into single digits, I watched the mess unfold and bolted straight into the Great Gate the moment it opened. On the other side, I had a pleasant stroll. Not sure if I was supposed to parkour past this point, but I did, and it covered a lot of ground. You're not going to believe what my only hiccup was.
Oh, dang it.
I don't think anybody inside the gate knew I was in there until the massive flaming Super Bowl disappeared. Back in reality we actually care about. Joffrey and the good captain got the same treatment whatever Bethesda did to breasts. A dramatic reduction in existence. His Majesty Jr. told me we had all the pieces of the Paradise puzzle, and he was ready to portal me in at my whim. I went to haul by all the lockpicks from that one shiny guy near Imperial City. Did I use any lockpicks after this? Of course not. Gravity was still very much a thing. I stashed Jeffrey's garbage with the rest of my unmentionables, talked to his Martinity, watched the magical equivalent of a high-budget rave, and dove headfirst into Mankar Camoran's lair to hunt his life and snag the amulet of Short Kings. Plan A, ignore everyone, follow the yellow brick road and pay no attention to the screams. Plan B, realize Plan A doesn't work because Mankar kept Discord streaming his ego straight into my brain. Then this Darth Maulian broke through my invisibility like I was wearing a dollar store stealth tech and gave me two options. A, fight him. B, serve him. So naturally, I picked option C, ignore his crusty cosplay ass. Didn't work. He followed me inside, my butt was the ship to his jaws. Zeroed in on me like a fart-seeking missile, and would not target anything else. He still had a sixth sense for my personal scent profile. Delightful. Because the door forward was locked, ignoring the butt goblin wasn't an option any longer, so I ripped the bark wristband off his corpse. The local torture dummies weren't thrilled about the consequences of their choices. My jokes are like onions. They have layers and make people cry. They had an open plan for the prisoners. All of them were standing outside their cages. I used Paralyze to baptize them in lava, repeatedly, for science, and laughed while doing it. There was also Eldamil, the brooding regret elf. He had a change of heart after having some time to reflect in his crappy afterlife, after getting accidentally sent house hunting for graves by some random civilians in Kvatch massacre. Now he wanted redemption by helping me vaporize this place. I don't think he lasted 5 minutes in my service. Thanks to the perks of immortality, his torment wasn't over anytime soon. Eternal torment builds character. In front of the boss room, some butt bandits kept trying to approach me. I avoided the potential small talk, and I didn't stop to ask what they were selling. Eldamil was still in high spirits. I lured that Xivilai in with me, in hopes he would do some real damage. He'd one-shot my Spider Queen earlier, so I had hope.
Wow.
Big mistake. When do I learn? After Maraga wrapped up his world domination PowerPoint, my frenzy turned the joint into a royal rumble. He turned his minions into chalk outlines. Eldamil and my queen tag-teamed him WrestleMania Cult Edition style, and I ransacked his pockets for souvenirs. But before I could sit on his evil IKEA throne, the fake reality had a meltdown. I woke up back at Blade HQ, and I gave Mr. Septic his trinket back, my final labor, light the dragon fires with his martinity in the Imperial capital, and the Oblivion Crisis will be only a bad memory. Before heading out, I lovingly crammed my new loot into the treasure fire, where it belongs. At the Imperial City Palace, we reported to the High Chancellor Otakon. Our pleasantries got interrupted by a doomsayer. Mehrunes Dagon sent his best to turn us into coffin stuffings. I took another page out of my legendary predecessor's book and climbed on the table, playing magical dodgeball while pretending I was making a difference. Situation wasn't looking much better on the outside. Dremora were crowding the joint like it was a surprisingly casual Black Friday sale. And just when I thought it couldn't get any more festive, Mehrunes Dagon decided to step in himself, big, angry, practically pantsless. The game gently suggested I ask Mr. Septic for advice. Cute idea, except I'd abandoned him the second we stepped outside the council room, and the door back was barred. For a moment, I thought I was in a bit of a pickle. I couldn't squeeze through from the left, but the right side was an open season, so I casually sneaked around Dagon's stinky angles and slipped into the Temple of the One. Inside, I waited an hour, and sure enough, his martinity came chucking in on his own.
I have to get past Mehrunes Dagon somehow.
We're already here.
As a great man once said, if there's one thing Sean Bean knows how to do, it's die. So he cracked his glow stick necklace, inhaled the juice, turned himself into a giant golden chicken, and gave the big ugly such a mythical hickey that Dagon rage quit the universe out of sheer embarrassment. I left the 2 forks I've been carrying this whole time in my pocket on the ground for good luck. Happy birthday, Paul of Mittensquad. If only you were here to play this new version. And that's how I beat Oblivion Remastered without taking or doing any damage, I think. And that's it for this time, folks. Do the engagement things to help me out. Tell me in the comments if you wanna see more of this game or if you have other challenges/games for me to play. Thanks for watching, see you next time, take care now, bye bye then.